put some pads, harmonic transition, just let them be, work on their movement, just be in the background. The shapes that you describe could be more in the foreground, okay, like you said, you described some pyramids, if I remember correct, right? So pyramids are geometrical shapes. There are three shapes. There are triangle. Every sound that will have a triangle type of nature into it. For example, rhythm, which is 3/4, 3/4. Yeah, I hope I said correctly. 3/4. Boom, boom, pa, boom, boom, pa, boom, boom, pa. It's actually it reminds me of something which is like shaped more like a triangle, because you can't always take 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It can help to create like something more in the foreground that
goes up an octave, it's going to take the length of time that's when the slide note starts to get up to the pitch. But by the end of the note, it's going to be up the next octave. If you want it to ascend faster, just shorten the slide note. You want it to go really fast, and then you should have to go down. And then, and you've got control over the volume as well, so you can have it re-emerge. Yeah, you get really creative with it. It's fun.
Yes, really
So small, I can't read it.
I don't know if you guys can hear the difference out there. Is it like even more phasing? That's another cool trick, you know, like maybe have like a couple of them phased and a couple of them just like doubled up and like change them a little bit. And then, you know, at this point I could resample these together. And the cool thing about having this now in audio is it opens up like a whole new window of like things that you can do with it. Like a big part of like making bass sounds I found is like resampling and taking audio and like just manipulating it in different ways. You know, like I could add more filtering on top of this. Let's see here on it. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to route the audio that's coming out of channel 4 right here into channel 5. So I'm just going to come to this routing tab right here, which you can open with this in and out section. And I'm just going to send audio from 4, 5, and then what I'm going to do is just record the output of this reverb tail. Find my mouse. So I'll just record that real quick. So now I have that reverb recorded, and what I'm going to do is reverse that reverb. So now the reverb comes before the sound. And I do this a lot with snares. I'll do it like on like maybe like every third snare of like a measure or something, and it just like gives it a cool variation. It's also super cool to do with vocals, like especially like, you know, the first vocal hit, you do this and it's just like it sucks into the vocal. Like really any kind of transient will sound cool, but then when I reline this back up the snare, you'll hear it has that that suction. Oh, you can take that, yeah. So now I got this. Turn that off. So yeah, that's reverb. So I do that a lot with snares, reverb, poly, and then yeah, it really just comes down to layerings, you know. So I might like take like a metallic sound of like I don't know, fucking.
It's generally considered an undesirable frequency in drums, you know, so take that out, but this is the power, and this is the detail. And this bit in here is kind of can be muddy or a bit kind of like knocky, you know, like someone like knocking on a wooden door or something. So often it's a case of, yeah, I'll take down the mid-range. It makes the kick sound cleaner and also like opens up more headroom for sounds that are going to go in that frequency range, such as chords and these kind of things. And then sometimes I'll just like give the highs a bit of a boost. Yeah, I don't get super technical with it anymore, and I think it's just because over time I just learned to create the kick drums that I like, you know, whereas back in the day I would, yeah, just try to like mangle, you know, kick drums that didn't sound good into ones that sound, it's like polishing a turd, you know. Yeah. It can go on for ages. So now I'm much quicker, yeah. I'm much quicker at just finding a kick that I like or making a kick that I like. But usually if there's any EQ work to be done on it at all, it's something like this, yeah, because there'll be some noise or some knockiness going on in the mid-range, and I'm going to have like bass harmonics and stuff in there as well. So yeah, I'll just pull that down, leave the sub-bass to carry the power of the kick, and then maybe just give it a bit more presence in the top end, get that click. Depends on the style of music you're writing, what you want. You know, the deep housey stuff tends to have these kind of deep subby kicks. You know, whereas the psytrance and techno tends to have like kind of like high click on the top. So it's all just down to like personal taste. But generally speaking, scooping out that mid range is going to be good for your mix. Yeah.
Something is going to expose that. So then you would just bring it back up to 0. Oops. Bring it up to 0 and then consolidate it again, and you're going to get this normalized sample. So something that's interesting with the drum rack and the simpler that's part of the drum rack is when you put something in, you want velocity sensitivity. Do we have some solo here? You want velocity sensitivity, but if you go to a full, to 100% velocity or anything that's like above a certain level, it's going to take your normalized sample and it's going to clip it. Yeah. So, working with Mario, yeah, brother, got this sorted. So what you'd want to do is pop this up to 100. And I'm going to actually bring the volume down all the way so you can't hear it because it's going to clip really hard. But if you go to your mixer view here, and
pop what up to 100?
The velocity sensitivity. So then if you go to your, there we go. So if you go here and we play it, so it's, I need to actually get like a part of a drum track in here to get the velocity happening. I'll make like a little clip, and turn this all the way down. So yeah, I'm going to bring this down here and we can just look at it. So basically what ends up happening is if you've got this, oops. So you can't hear it now because I pulled the volume down, but you're going to see it peaking at 22.8 dB. It's going to be 22.8 dB over 0. And we tried it with a few samples, and it was always 22.8 dB. So I don't know what it has to do with like being a normalized sample and having 100% velocity sensitivity, but it's always 22.8 dB above. So if you've got this normalized sample and you've got 100% velocity sensitivity, and you go to minus 22.8 dB, that means now it's going to peak at 0. So let's put this back at 0. And also make sure that you turn this filter off because that's going to affect it a little bit. And there's a way to set your default for an instance of Simpler that pops up in a drum rack to default to not having the filter on. You could even set it to be minus 22.8 and 100% velocity sensitivity. So now you've got a situation where it's going to be peaking. We'll turn the release all the way up too. So now we're exactly at 0. So this phaser right here is at 0. So now we've got that situation that Auron had going on, where if we want to go to -6, now it's unity gain. So like -6 is -6. You'll notice if the filter goes back on, it changes it a little bit. Now it's -5.96. You want to make sure you have that off. So basically, this 22.8 number came up today. So yeah, anytime you have a normalized sample with 100% velocity. And the problem is, otherwise you're not getting the loudest potential of your sound, and you're having to guess with the velocity sensitivity. So when I was trying to figure this out at first, it was like not quite 52% velocity sensitivity, because that would be like, you know, minus 0.01 or something, and then 53% would be like plus 2 or plus 0.2 or something. So it was hard to get it exact, but you can actually dial it in like right to 0, have a normalized sample be peaking at 0 in your drum rack, and you can make all your drum sounds like this, and then you have, you know, what Auron was discussing was, you know, just like really high quality sound. So yeah, Mario.
And are you setting your hit velocity all the way up?
Yeah, so that's the thing too, is that allows you to have this 127, this all the way up to 127 here. So at the loudest velocity, at the loudest velocity sensitivity, you're getting 0. Otherwise, you're having to fidget around with these controls, and it's never like exactly right. But this is a method of approaching this for your drum sounds. It's going to let you go exactly to 0.
Can you simulate with a sample that isn't already like normalized,
Yeah,
just to
sure.
see what happens there?
Find something maybe that's like. Oops. So maybe this one isn't, or this. That's a good snare. Wow. So let's put it in here. It looks like it is already, to be honest with you, but let's see. Yeah, so see, this is -10 right now, which could be like, I noticed with the Black Octopus cakes, obviously they try to normalize it, but it keeps coming down -0.2 dB. So it could be just like a safety thing, so you don't get clipping or something, but basically you would just adjust that value back to 0 and then consolidate it again, and it boosts it just a little bit more, and now it's at 0. So yeah, you would just pop it in your drum rack, and I know it's 22.8, so I don't need to play it to find out, but basically it would be velocity sensitivity all the way up, volume -22.8, and turning the filter off. And now, if we were to add on the same one, why am I not getting the? I have to like actually record it. Oh yeah, thank you. So like now, it should peak. Oops. Yeah, see, -6. So now we've got the same thing happening. -6, that drum hits peaking at -6. So that was, I was really stoked to discover that, and I think that's going to make everyone's drums sound better. So, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, and from that Pathwey, I've got the ability to, you know, cut the volume or cut it in send. And it's being, where it's being sent, it's actually being sent out to, a send channel, which is gray, and then being routed to come back into an audio chain with the effects on it. Alright, that just means it's a hell of a lot easier than trying to
different one. It's just much easier just to be able to mute them or send them. You guys understand that? Makes sense?
Tell us again.
Mm. Rewind. What part didn't you understand? Everything?
The middle part.
Just say it again without the music playing.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so the patch bay, which all of the 7 lots of stems, they correspond here to the same. You got the same there, kick, bass, synth 2, which correspond to all of these bass, kick, bass, synth 2. All of those get sent into this patch bay, and then can there be sent either muted.
What's a patch bay?
Patch bay is like basically like a group channel. Yeah, just another name for a group. Yeah.
So you have both sets of like kick drums going into one kick drum channel, both
Yes.
sets of snares going into one snare channel.
Yes, exactly. And the reason for that is it just makes it a hell of a lot easier than having to, like, if I want to stop the say the percussion from going straight out to the master from that group channel, patch bay, I'd have to go and find out like where I want to send it to, effects chain 5. You know, and that would be a lot harder than just like mute and then send to the send channel, and then that send channel gets sent to an audio chain, and it sounds exactly the same until I start waking up the effects. And when I get back into it with the coding, I'm going to have like kill switches so that I don't have to go back and like make sure that's like dry before I start bringing in new effect. I can just push that and it's like reset. But it pissed me off so much that I haven't gone back to doing that yet. Yeah, I mean in this setup, it's really fun because like I can play the track through just like normal. I can have a heart attack on stage pretty much, and it will just play the track like that. Or I can do a fully in-depth like live remix. I tend to not do it as much with the W music because it's like different keys, different tempos, different vibes. But with the trancier and more techno stuff, I might bring in, say, like the kick drum from another track or the bass line from another track while muting the other two. You know, quite fun. Now, so I want to load up like what's next for the band project. I think in here somewhere. 96 is all the same volume, and I base my track around my kick generally. Snare. Nothing should jump above the -6, and that's why like with the mastering patch, none of them have to work exceedingly hard. Like what I have done in the dynamics is I've actually compressed the high end a little bit more because I find from track to track my high end will be a little bit more varied in the mix, depending on like lots of different things. So I can press it harder and boost it more, but generally it's like only like it's a ratio like 1.6 ratio on the 2.2, a bit more compression on the bass. But yeah, it's only compressing each of those bands by a decibel or 2 max, and then not too heavy. It depends. Like if I'm playing somewhere where I need it to be really dynamic, I'll just reduce the threshold of the limiter a bit. Or if it just needs to be fucking loud, because people need it loud, I'll just crank it. And sometimes I'll add an EQ and I'll do a little bit of guesstimation, like especially in clubs and stuff like that where they haven't gone around and tuned the room. I'll try and like, if I've got time to do a sound check, that'd be awesome, but most of the time I don't. And I can go around and sort of guesstimate, 400 hertz is a bit too much, I'll just pull a bit out of that. It's surprising how much difference that makes coming on after just like a perfectly mastered track to one that's got like something that actually responds to the room if it's not tuned properly. If it just goes boom, what's louder?
Is there a specific reason